Hey everybody, welcome back to our channel. My name is Juan, and here at Ethereal Art Studio, I'm an artist, you're an artist, we are all artists. Today we'll be paying tribute to John Carpenter's 1980 classic, The Fog. So here I have a black canvas, it's ready, but first, before I use the canvas, I'm actually going to cut out the figures. And before I cut them out, I'm going to draw them. So these figures don't have to have too much details. I'm gonna go ahead and try to draw the figure from the film, but you could just as easily print out a silhouette of this size compared to the paper, as well as smaller silhouettes for the background. So here I have my first of the 5 smaller silhouettes that I'm going to place in the background, and these are even less detailed, meaning they don't have arms that are pronounced or legs. They are simply the head and the shoulders down to basically the midsection. After I draw these, I'm going to cut them out, and I'm going to make sure that the lines are all sorts of bumpy or kind of uneven, because that will add to the realism. There's clothing, right? There are all sorts of wrinkles in the clothing. So therefore, I'm not going for perfectly straight lines. And now I'm going to begin to position them on the black canvas. So I'm going to use some tape, any kind of tape will do, just to keep them in place. And yes, please do subscribe. We have plenty more tutorials based on John Carpenter's other classics, as well as many other horror films. So now let's place the largest cutout in the center here, and then let's also cut off just a little bit of each of the 2 figures next to him. So now let's make sure that the largest cutout is slightly blocking the view of the 2 that are behind him. So what is your favorite John Carpenter movie? Is it The Fog? Is it Halloween or The Thing? They Live? Memoirs of an Invisible Man? Please let us know in the comment section. So now let's get to some airbrushing. Once we have our figures all positioned and taped on, we're gonna use white. And first I'm just gonna practice a little bit. Here I have a drawing pad, the back of one, it's black, so it looks like the canvas. Then I start just comfortably, slowly, just calmly adding some fog right over the figures. The paint could go right over the outlines, on top of them. In fact, it's better if it actually lands on them too. That way you make sure that the outline that is left behind is exact. There are no gaps. But before we take off the stencils, let's add more. This time we're gonna add more white paint. This time it's gonna go brighter, meaning we're gonna add more with more pressure. So now once we have a lot of fog in the picture, we can start removing the stencils, but not the one in the center. Let's leave that one. We need that one to stay in place. But let's take off all these in the back. As you can see, we have our shapes. They're starting to really show themselves. And now let's add fog, and add a lot of fog. Start making those clouds that are down there really bright. So you might be able to tell that I love using this technique of airbrushing, using a stencil and creating a dark silhouette, because I feel that the images that are created using this technique are striking, to say the least, and they really convey eeriness and other emotions, basically like the films that they are based on are intended to. So now let's mix it up a little bit. Let's add a little bit of black paint to our white paint that is in our airbrush gun so that we can make a gray. We might have to let it out a little bit so that that black paint will start to come out. Well, the gray, I should say, will start to come out. And as you can see here, I'm adding it mostly to the bottom, really to the bottom and the center as well, and even over his legs. So now let's think about his eyes, okay? So we're gonna use red airbrush paint and a tiny brush. We're gonna add red by itself to lay the foundation for these eyes. After that, we add a little bit of white paint to our paper plate or our paper or whatever we're using. We mix it up with the brush, the paint that is on the brush. It's kind of like a pink, and we just add a little bit of it. We don't cover everything that we added before. We just add it on top of it, but you can still see a little bit of the original red. Then we get red again, and then we outline, I should say, the white that we just added. 3 steps. That way it'll make it look like it's glowing, it's bright in the center of the eyes. So now we're gonna paint Blake's sword. So we use some black airbrush paint, but we have to add a little bit of water to it so that it is soft, so that it won't be so strong against this painting that we already have here. And after that, we can go back to white paint. You can clean your brush if you want to, or you could just spray out what's already in there and add more white paint. And this time it's to add fog that is in front of Blake himself. We're gonna pretty much add fog over what we just painted, over his sword. Well, thanks so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed it. I also hope that you give it a try and share with us how your picture came out. All of our information is in the description section. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification button, and visit etherealartstudio.com. While you're at it, check out these other tutorials based on films by John Carpenter.